is going on out there, world? It's your boy Tommy on the spot for Watchalong Wrestling. Hopefully everyone is doing well and staying safe. Welcome to another edition of our Tough Enough Watchalong on Watchalong Wrestling. And of course, as always, I am joined by my main man, Steve. Steve, how's it going today?
It's going great. It's bright and early here, and I can't wait to get started.
Absolutely. Happy birthday to you. I know you guys are getting ready to set sail and travel away here for your birthday. Are you getting excited for your trip?
Yeah. It should be good. We're driving up to Tennessee. It's a nice, easy 10-hour drive.
That's cool.
Staying there for a few days, going to check out some of the local stuff, get some moonshine, that kind of thing. And so it should be good.
That's awesome. I didn't realize you were driving.
Yeah. It makes a little bit more sense, and it's going to be easier to bring all that stuff back.
It's funny. I was reminiscing about the time a couple years ago, actually now 8 years ago, which is insane. 8 years ago that my wife, my wife, at the time my girlfriend and I traveled down to Orlando to visit you guys for the first time since you had moved down there for your birthday.
Yeah, because I was going to say it was right around this time too. So
yeah, it's pretty crazy. Was that now in going to Orlando at that point? How long had you guys been down in Florida?
We had only been down a few months because we had moved down. I want to say Amanda had come down a couple of months before I did because I had to finish up work and that kind of thing. But I came down in April of 2013.
Because you guys were at our Super Bowl party that year.
Yeah, and that was basically like basically almost the announcement of us leaving. Basically.
Pretty cool. Yeah, that's crazy that it's been so long. And I will say that despite you living in Orlando, I feel like we've still been able to keep pretty good contact and everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, luckily with, it was kind of that blessing in disguise last year with everything going on and, all of us having to stay in our houses and how video calling and, video recording and stuff has gotten so much better than it was the past couple of years. So it's been great for us being able to stay in contact and doing things like this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'll never forget that time. It was funny because that time that we came down in 2013, I think it was pretty relatively, you guys still were working at Disney. So you were able to get us like a super good hookup on the room. So we had stayed at, I think it was the All-Star Resort. And then we had like the food, whatever that was, like the food.
The dining.
It was like $30 a day for like 3 different meals. Now, granted, I think it's like $90 a day if you want this in real life. But with the discount you guys were able to get us, I think it was like $30 a day. Does that sound about right?
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds about right. Yeah.
For wrestling reference, that weekend that we had came down to visit you guys, I had tickets to go see with my buddy Joe, who to go see Money in the Bank 2013 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The following night on Monday, I had tickets to go, I think it was for my buddy Toby, I'm not sure, to go to the first ever Monday Night Raw at the Barclays Center. And it was also the All-Star weekend for the baseball game that year. The All-Star festivities were in New York. And Matt Harvey started the All-Star game for the National League. And so I was planning to go to that all weekend and then all those wrestling things. And then this trip to Florida came up and we just were like, screw it. We're not doing any of them. And came down to visit. But that was my only time. It still remains my only time staying on Disney property, which was such a crazy thing.
Yeah. And it's, it's a great experience, definitely. And particularly, when we went, we were able to get the dining package, take advantage of the extra magic hours and all that stuff. So, yeah, it was a great time.
And I think the dining plan that we had was like 1 sit-down restaurant, 1 regular like quick service restaurant, and 1 snack. And if memory serves correct, at that point, we certainly weren't as health conscious as we are now. And I think we stacked all of our snacks the final day and then went around to Epcot and got like 100 little things throughout the whole day.
Yeah, because I mean that's basically what always happens whenever anybody is ever on the dining plan. You always have snacks at the end that you're just like, I need to get rid of this. I need to get stuff. So like you'll get stuff for the car, you'll get stuff for the plane, like take back with you, whatever you can grab, basically.
And that one trip really kind of took my fandom of all things Disney. I think I was a fan of Disney and the idea behind Disney, and I had like nostalgic feelings from like being a child there. But that took it to like the next stratosphere. I remember I came back, I started listening to Lou Mangello's podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and just became like absolutely all things obsessed with Disney. I remember in 2013, right after we visited you guys the next month, we ended up going to California for the first time, and I wanted to go. We went to Disney Springs and Disneyland, and my wife was like, all right, let's hold off on all the Disney stuff. But then I think like from there, it just blew up into the stratosphere. And I think until the pandemic, I had been there every single year, at least to one of the parks, and even all the way to Disneyland Paris. So really started to appreciate the idea of adulting in Disney.
Yeah, and it's something that I feel like it gets a bad rap because like, you know, like, oh, adult Disney fans are weird. But you know, coming from somebody, you know, I didn't go to Disney until I was an adult.
Right.
And it definitely, I got an extra level of appreciation for all the little things that go on to make Disney World work. You know, kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to come down to work for Disney originally. And aside from, you know, all of the nostalgia and growing up with Disney and all that stuff. So, I mean, yeah, it's absolutely great. We haven't been back at this point, in over a year now. So we'd definitely be itching to return at some point.
Absolutely. And I'll never forget when I think every friend I've had who's gone down to Disney and been like, yeah, we're doing the Disney thing. I don't know why we're going to Disney. And then they go. And then afterwards they come back and like, oh, we can't wait to go back. Oh, it was so cool. It was awesome. And I mean, now we actually, you know, obviously we have a daughter. And so it'll be a different type of experience the next time we go to Disney. But one of my more fond memories was going to Disneyland. I think it's Goofy's Kitchen in Disneyland.
Mm-hmm.
At like 7 a.m. I had gotten my wife for her birthday one year. We went and ordered mimosas, and they looked at us like it's not even on the menu. Like you can get it, but it's just not like on the actual menu.
Yeah.
We ordered it, and they were like, mimosas? Like, are you serious? We get pretty good at like 7 in the morning at Goofy's Kitchen, but that's the fun of it. It's like that helps you to, you know, be a kid and enjoy things even more so than if you were just sitting there, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Vegas, you know, like time is meaningless. You can start drinking whenever they start serving alcohol. So if they're serving it, I'm going to get it, like, you know.
Absolutely. Well, before we do get into our Tough Enough show this week, I did, and I mentioned it last week, that I was about to wear this shirt, and I ended up wearing the Tribute to the Troops shirt. But there you go, my Sergeant Slaughter T-shirt there. Good old Sarge, a great follow over on Twitter, and I'm not only saying this because he does follow me over at Watchalong Tommy, but a little name drop there. I might have to pull up my back in picking that name up off the ground. But yeah, Sergeant Slaughter, one of my all-time favorites growing up, and good to represent him here today. Before we do continue, I will talk about, if you do want to follow us on Twitter, you can follow me at WatchAlongTommy and follow Steve over at SteveCJ556. Is that correct, Steve?
That is correct, yeah. Not very active, but
maybe you should change your Twitter handle to at WatchAlongSteve.
I could.
And then, hopefully I'll be able to succeed in getting everybody who comes on the show to change their Twitter handles to at Watchalong and whatever their name is. But that would be an entertaining type deal to go ahead with. So, but the last time we left off on Tough Enough, we've now lost 3 of the contestants. And actually, I was probably one of my favorite episodes was the last episode. If you guys have not gotten a chance to take a look at that episode yet, go back into the archives. Last week's episode, so much fun when the contestants get tickets to go to SmackDown. And as you said, Steve, I was sure they had to act like the excitement was probably, they were like, hey guys, act super stoked that you're going to SmackDown, because these guys, the celebration moment on Tough Enough when they find out they're going to SmackDown was like they found out they were going to insert your favorite vacation spot. They were leaping for joy, hugging each other, jumping up and down. And but that was cool. And then Steve had gone back and actually got the card for that show, which I thought was very interesting. A very interesting time in WWE history considering the fact that WCW is about to close. WrestleMania 17 is just a few days away. And so really entertaining episode there. Make sure you go out of your way to check that out. And it brought me back to many times where you find out last second you're going to a show and you are just super stoked to go. So very, very cool. But we did lose 2 more contestants last week in Victoria and Bobby Joe. So we are now down 3 contestants with Jason the week prior. And all 3 quit on their own accord.
Mm-hmm. But I think this week we're actually going to get our first cut.
Oh, okay. And also Pat Patterson is going to be on this show. It's Lunch with Patterson here. Any memories of Pat Patterson?
So my first memories of Pat Patterson are when it was like him and Gerald Briscoe were like, they were called McMahon Stooges.
Yeah.
Because they were just like, and I had no idea who these guys were. I had no idea that they were like old wrestlers from like the 60s or 70s or whatever.
Yeah.
So like, who are these guys that they're just like tagging along with Mr. McMahon? Little did I know that one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, but
no, I had no idea either. And, when I remember they kept calling him the first Intercontinental Champion ever and how he won the title in a tournament in Rio de Janeiro. And then as I get older, I realized that tournament was actually never happened. He was just handed the Intercontinental title and said, "Hey, you're going to be the first Intercontinental Champion," and that's how he got the belt. But no, I thought the Stooges were always very entertaining. King of the Ring 2000, the Stooges evening gown match with both men in dress, and then they had to pull each other's dresses off to reveal the women's lingerie underneath. And Pat Patterson, credit to him. I mean, I don't think he was out in a stand. There's a show on Peacock, which was originally on the network, where he does tell everyone and reveals that he's openly gay.
Mm-hmm.
But it was one of these things where backstage he was openly gay. And, it was one of these things where, later on, obviously, there's a wrestler, Darren Young, who came out in 2013 SummerSlam that weekend. And all the big stars had really kind of came out in support of him. And I thought it was really, really nice to see. I mean, you had anyone from, John Cena to The Big Show to even, Randy Orton, who typically isn't the most politically correct, all came out and really not correct. Yeah, exactly. They all came out in support of Darren Young in coming out. And so, if you think about it now, there's many wrestlers who are out and openly gay, openly transgender even. And so the idea that I feel like wrestling to that extent has really been much more revolutionary and accepting of this, to the point that now if you find out a wrestler's gay, it's not no big thing and you move along. Whereas we're still at a point where somebody just came out, a football player just came out a couple of weeks ago, and it was the biggest story in the entire world that it came out. So it's interesting that wrestling's kind of been ahead of the curve there.
Yeah, well, I think it's also, with WWE's kind of shift towards a more PG product and a more family-friendly product, family means everybody. So if you want to appeal to a wider range of people, you're going to need to be a little bit more progressive. Yep. And with the NFL is already an established product. Everybody knows what you're going to get with that. I feel like with WWE, it kind of ebbs and flows, where you have the high times and the low times, and you need to be able to kind of ride out those times.
Exactly. And of course, Pat Patterson, also one of the greatest minds in the history of the business, is really kind of credited with many of those matches through the late 80s and early 90s of, the stories of him and Vince McMahon sitting by the pool and booking the shows before there was ever a writing team. So it'll be interesting to jump into this episode here and hear all about what Pat Patterson has to say with the contestants. Are you ready to go, Steve?
I am ready.
I have my 3 zeros this time. I was making sure I had them pinpointed perfectly there. I was a total sucker this morning. Peacock still has, because they're not the most, they don't update things very frequently. The big thing they're showing on the top was Great American Bash 2004. So I sat here and watched a little of the show before we got started. And it's a brutal show. I don't know why they're promoting.
I remember it being I remember those Great American Bashes were kind of like,
Yeah, really not good. I was sitting here trying to charge my phone and also drink a little coffee here before we got started. And then I was sitting here and I was like, what a terrible show. But all right, we have our 3 zeros here. And Steve, do you want to, in honor of your birthday, do you want to go ahead and count us down yet again here before we start?
All right, I can do it. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
All right. And as a reminder, Steve and I are both on the commercial plan here on Peacock. Steve's version of the commercial plan seems way better than mine.
I think maybe if you like skip ahead to watch part of it, and then because like they would play commercials then, so maybe that's what it was. Maybe you have to like skip ahead to just kind of watch them all in one sitting.
Oh, could be. Maybe that. Yeah, maybe good idea.
So this one I did not do that, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Tori in there now with Chris. Much of Tori here. She's kind of been a background player.
Yeah, it was mostly Al and Jacqueline for the most part the last couple episodes.
Yeah. Tori doesn't seem as into it here as she throws Shadrick down to the ground like a sack of potatoes. Oh boy, that was brutal. Considering now you run by a shooting victim, whatever, but those bumps that Daryl's taking are just not good at all.
Right.
As Chris is saying, he's still the worst. Al's shaking his head here. I love that.
I was gonna say, before we started, like, I wonder how Daryl is gonna embarrass himself this week.
I love and obviously it's just like perfect editing from MTV where it's like, let's throw this guy falling on the floor, looking bad, looking like a fool, and then immediately cut to a clip of him talking about how confident he is in himself.
Oh, yeah.
Here they go, going over to go see. Oh, they're getting food together so they could prepare a meal for Pat Patterson. Probably at the local Publix. Oh, no, they're not down in Florida. No.
Yeah. So this is what, Stop and Shop or something?
Yeah, probably. Well, 2001, I'm not even sure Stop and Shop was there. Oh, so they were given a budget. Of course he had that cash on him.
Of course you did.
He had the $85 on him. No one else. They're all just broke kids, and he's like,
yeah. He probably knew very well that was what it was, and he was like, all right, let me do this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in fairness, though, if they're given $100 to go out there and they go out and spend $185, and then he comes back and asks for the money back from the house. I mean, granted, it's probably like $6 for each person.
Yeah, it's probably like $10 to $15 per person. Like,
yeah. What an interesting idea, though, that they all have to. There he is.
Yeah. It always marvels when I watch old, like, 70s and stuff. Those wrestlers look so old then.
Yes.
Those clips, Pat Patterson looks like he's already in his 60s when he's wrestling.
Absolutely. It's pretty cool that like this random night they got Pat Patterson to agree to go down and see these kids and do this. We'll say that Chris doesn't seem the most interested in talking with the contestants, but whenever there's a wrestler around, he is like edge of his seat, super involved, taking everything in like a sponge.
Yeah.
That's always how I always heard with the older wrestlers before you get started, it's like you'd be in charge of taking down the ring, setting up the ring, doing everything like that.
Well, I mean, the whole thing is you have to pay your dues and you have to, like, earn your spot.
I don't be hating on Taylor. I don't, at the end of the day, you've got to be able to say something, or you're going to be just overseen. Though it kind of everyone else is going to look the other way. At least she's not just being a jokester like Daryl. Oh, more exclusive. These are some of the stranger things. These exclusive footage bites. I mean, the one where Triple H is burying Goldberg is good, but last week where they're just having a conversation with Stephanie in the car, and now this where Pat's just talking about territory days with the crew here.
Yeah, just, doing stories of the road and that kind of thing. But like, you have to think that they're filming literally every moment that they're there. Oh. But the fact that they decide to pick these particular segments, it's like, what possessed you to want to choose this one segment above all of the other hours and hours of film that you have?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's very because this episode here I think is like 27 minutes long, and you'd think if they're there the entire day, they probably filmed about 5 hours of probably every moment of Patterson being there they filmed.
Right. It wasn't like he was in there for the 5 minutes that he's seen on camera, and then that's it, guys. I'm here for the dinner shot, and then I got to hit the road.
Well, I do remember when I was young and I went to go get tickets for Survivor Series 2002. And they literally pulled up. They made it seem on Raw like Eric Bischoff was there shaking hands with fans for hours and hours and hours. And they literally, in real life, pulled up. Bischoff got out of a car, shook a couple hands, waved, and immediately to return to the car and left. And that was all he used. The clip on Raw was basically all he was there.
Yeah. Make it from like different angles so it looks like you're actually, he's spending more time than he is, but it's actually he's shaking the same hand 20 different times.
Exactly. They are all. It's got to be interesting because these guys are not like huge. Some of these guys are not huge wrestling fans. Right. I mean, the ones there now are somewhat, but they're at least showing the respect. Even Daryl there looks like he's nicely clean shaved and ready to go.
But like, I feel like this is very much like you're sitting on the couch with Grandpa. And he's telling you his old stories that he's told you 100 times already. And you got to be nice and you got to give the chuckle and you got
Yeah. It is. It's when these Pat Patterson karaoke singing stories, I think I've heard several times. He's actually known for one of the big things he did was always sing My Way and sang My Way at Triple H and Stephanie's wedding. And they have it on, I think, an old Blu-ray, maybe Triple H's, that he's there singing, and so very much into it. But you're 100% right. It's everyone's just sitting there, and it's nodding and eyes. Meanwhile, it's like you're trying to think about. Well, back in 2001, they didn't have their phones either, so they had no choice but to sit there, not.
I had a device in my pocket right now that could distract me from this boring story.
Exactly. There could be like posting items on eBay, tweeting, doing checking their fantasy teams, setting their lineups. So one thing about today that is so tough, it's like if people are bored in a conversation, they just pull out their phone.
Yeah.
Now he's talking about the Dudleys and how good all of them are, and now apparently they're all very good singers as well. Looks like that's the end of the Pat Patterson appearance there.
Yeah. The whole episode is titled after that moment.
That moment of sitting.
And it lasted all of like 4 minutes.
Oof. Why is he having him do it again and again? I feel like he's gonna fall.
Well, because you gotta get it right. Like you can't. Yeah.
I always think, Daryl is some, but Chadwick I've almost forgotten about on this show. I feel like they haven't shown much.
When they do the talking heads, he's not really one of the first ones either.
Oh boy, that was bad.
Yeah.
No, he's not even there. You're right. This is the first time we've seen him, I think, in 4 weeks being on the show. I see. I thought that was on Chris, but I guess that was more on Daryl there, falling on his head and looking like
it's because he's not committing to it. He's just
overthinking it.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. This is too much. It's like they have all these clips of Daryl talking about how great he is, and they put him in intersplicing all the mistakes he has. As we hit our first commercial break.
Yeah, and I actually have the commercial break too. So.
Hey, so a little better this time. Is yours also a 45-second one?
Actually, mine's a full minute.
You have to let me. I'll pause mine when the show comes back, and have to when you're back. Unless mine's a full minute too. Getting used to the commercials here on Peacock. The way that it was with Network's cost was $9.99. Peacock is $4.99. This introductory rate is $2.50, but then it's $4.99 with commercials. You can get them with no commercials for $9.99, but it's like, why double the cost just to get rid of?
Yeah, just to end 2 minutes of agony.
Right. So I'm now on pause here, so you let me know when you're back.
Okay, I got 10 seconds.
Yeah. I feel like before WWE Network, like unless you're a huge Office fan, there's not too much on Peacock. It's very. You're back. All right. They love this B-roll footage of the train by the center, as they show Daryl looks like he's about to kill himself here every time that he goes for. Yeah, I mean it really must be tough. I mean, you're not only are you learning to flip, but you're doing it with you have to basically do it flawlessly and trust the other person that they're going to do their part of it too. But it really shows basically like a hip toss is pretty much just the other person just flipping and you're taking your hand and kind of guiding them there.
Yeah. Well, but the thing is that you're the person that's flipping is doing most of the work. Like the person that's doing the hip toss is really more of just like I'm doing this to as a wrestling move. Like I'm pretending like I'm throwing you, but you're the person that's actually going over and flipping and landing.
Yeah. I remember when we had one of our first basement wrestling shows back in the day, and Binder actually pulled up one of these clips to show our friend Greg how to take a DDT. And he watched, so he took a DDT and he rolled, and when he rolled both feet directly into the wall. broke our wall. But he did take it really well, other than that. But yeah, and Daryl now is struggling here with falling on his neck constantly. I'm sure does hurt.
Well, and I do know, I don't know from personal experience, but I know based on everything that I've seen that sometimes a big guy like that doesn't necessarily have control over his body as much, especially like if you're really tall and gangly, kind of like you don't necessarily have as much control over your body.
Right.
So that's his issue, but
that, hey, WWE's landed the Giants. You don't see guys like that falling around all over the place. And that he is right. Now it looks like these guys are going, looks like to the club.
Yeah.
And they're at, it looks like a billiards hall or something to that extent. Wow. So I think they're saying that, and now it looks like I guess the girls stayed home.
Yeah.
And I went to this club.
I can't figure out how it all got to be like that. I was going to school because that is what I
So many people are like that. You know,
Yeah.
you go to school because like it's the thing to do.
Yeah. Well, Taylor was another one who we haven't heard much out of.
Not at all. I had almost forgot she was there too. It's feel like it's just been Paulina and Nydia as well.
Yeah.
And I think it's partially because these shows are about a half hour in length each, so they can only feature so many people on them. There's been real world seasons I remember like that were a half hour each, and definitely the ones that were an hour long each. It's like you really got to know that cast really well.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like it's one of those things where it's like we focus on Maven just because, we know he's going to come out of it. And he's always in the background. He's always in the shot, but he doesn't have a lot of like the talking heads, and he's never actually in the spotlight.
Yeah.
Been a lot of Josh and Daryl.
You're 100% right. Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's been a lot of Greg and a lot of,
Yeah.
definitely a lot of Daryl, but not in the most flattering of aspects, but definitely a lot of Chris and Josh as well. Maven he's just kind of there, but he's not really doing much of anything. I'm guessing in the coming weeks here. Looks like Daryl lost the contest here, and so now he's got to say I'm a bitch whenever they want. Yeah, even his talking head spots are relatively uneventful and boring.
It's very calm.
Now I've hit another commercial break. I don't know if you're on one.
Me too. 45 minutes. 45 seconds this time.
45 seconds. I'm on 60 seconds. They could at least help us out here.
Make the same
breaks. I mean, what are they doing here? Peacock falling apart. Well, it's funny because like WWE used to have to talk about their subscriber number every quarter of how many people were subscribed to the network. And it was always like a point of interest for wrestling fans because they wanted to see how that network was performing. Now that they've sold Peacock, they can't comment on how many subscribers there are, and Peacock's asked them not to. So no one really knows how everything's going. But it's been, kind of an interesting piece.
All right, and I'm back.
You're back. Okay, I'm still on my commercial break.
All right.
15 seconds left. Talking about the Olympics here on this commercial break. It's amazing the Olympics are coming back.
Yeah, I had that one too.
Yeah, very strange. Like out of nowhere, the Olympics are back. Like out of nowhere. All right, and I am now officially back. It looks like the guys who went out last year are feeling the effects.
Yeah.
Haven't we all been there? Tori looks like, man, there's no place she'd rather be less than being here with the Tough Enough kids.
Yeah. Because at least Al, he has to have that kind of like, he's obviously the lead trainer mentality.
Yeah.
And she's just kind of there.
Well, I think with Al, they probably went to him and they said, all right, we got a 3-year deal on MTV. You're going to be the head trainer for each one of the 3 seasons. And he was probably like, hey, shit, I know that my run at least is extending now for 3 years.
Yeah.
So that's, a pretty big deal. And I mean, most of his career after being part of Tough Enough, he doesn't do too much else. He's just kind of the Tough Enough trainer. You're right. They are cutting someone this week. Taz has randomly showed up in the shot, too.
Like, it came out of nowhere.
Yeah. Weird. Like, that was like it must be like a different day there because he was not next to Al at all. I thought we had another commercial I was going to. Exclusive
footage going to the Bikram yoga place.
I like it. Bikram yoga back in 2001. I thought that was like a relatively new concept. Have you ever done Bikram yoga?
No.
Now, I know James, friend.
I haven't done a yoga class at all or anything. I've done, some at home, but I've never done like an official class or anything like that.
I've done DDP yoga here at home, and I did one yoga class with Eri. And I remember being like, oh, man, if I do a bad job, everyone's going to stop. My immediate thought, everyone's going to stop their class and just stare at me about what a lousy job I was doing. So I tried to overcompensate and do everything perfect. But Bikram yoga, and I know a friend of the channel, James, is a big Bikram yogi. And it's tough because you're in this incredibly hot room doing all of these different poses. And so you are basically standing there and sweating it out.
Yeah.
So the added heat element there So you're, I heard you can lose a lot of weight really fast doing it.
I'm sure, but I sweat too much on a good day, so I can imagine how horrible, how I would probably not have a good time in that.
No, and as you are well aware, I am the king of sweating, so it is very, very tough. Yeah, I'm more like Daryl back there. See, his knees are all bent out. Yeah. And that'd be me doing yoga as well.
Everybody else be doing a pretty decent job, though.
I think they're not doing. This is probably their first time doing it. This is really tough. It seems like this is a Tory part of the show here that Tories, kind of brought to the show. And it's supposed to be really good for, if you are constantly falling or constantly, getting into pain and different things, due to athletics, yoga really helps with that because it helps.
I mean, it always helps with your flexibility and, that kind of thing.
Yeah. This did not make the cutting room floor, though, on the real episode. This is only the stuff, if you were to purchase the DVD, that you came for. The Pat Patterson story.
At least this is like, a little bit more entertaining than just the other couple of exclusive footages we've gotten.
Some of the stuff is really tough.
Mm-hmm.
Now Taz is back here, not looking like he's happy at all. Those are the infamous Hindu squats that Chris Benoit was always known to do. Kip ups, brutal. I remember trying to do those so many times, and I could not get it right, no matter what I did. Do we need the clip? Do we need? Let's get to the bathroom, dude.
Yeah, no.
But apparently that does happen quite a bit.
Oh, I'm sure. Whenever you overexert yourself, there's always that chance.
Yeah. In one of the Peter Tough Enoughs, one of the more recent one, they had this deal where Triple H was walking into the place for the first time, and one of the kids who was trying out during the casting special was puking their mind out, and Triple H walks by them like laughing, like, I hope that happens each time I come in, like all like as a sense of pride.
Yeah.
And the buckets were set up right next to the ring because it happens but Shadrick there just bowled over and did it. So I don't have a clue here who gets cut. Who is your prediction as to who will be the first cut here? Or do you already know?
I feel like it's got to be Daryl.
I think Daryl's got to be the guy.
It's got to be. Yeah.
And they've done, what all good reality shows have done, which is they build it up into making you think maybe it's going to be Shadrick or Paulina.
Yeah.
But Daryl is.
Paulina just saying that how she would rate herself last and all that stuff. And
yeah. Now, I do think they have a soft spot for Daryl, because clearly Al's smiling as he's asking him to do a push-up and saying that he's that person's bitch. And, I'm sure MTV probably loves him too, because from a standpoint of the show, he's kind of become the de facto villain.
But at least, sometimes the making of a good villain is they're also actually good at what they do.
Right. We're not just like, hey, look at this guy doing a horrible
cocky jackass.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and now they're talking about Taylor's probably enjoying. Oh, look at that cool Stone Cold chair there.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking about how Taylor doesn't have anyone at home, so that's why she's probably enjoying herself so much.
Yeah.
They're going through each one of the contestants to figure out who they're going to be cutting. Every time I see Taz, there's a Twitter account known as at Taz Vibes 2, and it's a random clip of Taz sitting in a car like songs, and just put it over Taz vibing, and he has like
yeah. But Taz is kind of like and I have another comment here. Taz was very complimentary about most people. You know, there was some, it was like, you know, like Paulina, she's clumsy, but you know, like, all right. But then when, you know, the second that Big shows the picture of Daryl, just starts shaking his head like, no.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Daryl's going home. It's interesting with Taz because his in-ring career, he's still kind of a part of it here for the next year or so, but definitely starts in 2002. He winds down and starts doing the transition. So I wonder, I don't remember in Tough Enough 2 if he's already replaced, but I definitely know in Tough Enough 3 he's not there, and Bob Holly is, because Bob is like the crankiest bastard. When we continue our journey in a few years from now, it'll be interesting to see Bob doing everything wrong. And looks like we're about to be back here in 2 seconds and find out who is the cut. It looks like Maven is oh wow. It looks like Maven is trying to be a little bit more part of things here with
yeah, it's stepping up a little bit, you know. But of course, it's also only what we've seen. So, you know, he could be
the life of the house,
everybody's favorite in the house, and we would never know the difference because it's what they show us.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be. I don't think Shadrick's going home.
No, they had some decent stuff to say about him. So.
Yeah. This would never happen if you did this in real. Being that we've worked at a supermarket in the past, if someone had tried to do this, we would be having none of it.
No, I like honestly, like if it was in real life, like I would be so stunned that I don't know if I would know what to do. Like,
right. That's pretty funny. I mean, not I don't know if anything's as funny as Maven rolling on the floor laughing.
Right.
I don't know if I've ever told you, but years after Tough Enough ended, Ari and I had gone to what was it, Perfect Turtle or something like that in Manhattan. It was like club, and Maven was the bouncer.
Really?
And I asked him if it was Maven, and he said no, but it was very clearly Maven. And then I went back and checked, and it was indeed that was where he was bouncing. And he could,
you know, good for him. Still, you know.
I don't think he's doing that now. I think he's doing some financial stuff, but because when he was on Tough Enough, he was like in an office. When he was on the Bump, he was like in an office chilling. Oh, here we go. Intense. So if they go to their lockers and if they don't have a red tag, they're cut. Is that what they said?
I think so. No, I think if they do have the red tag, they're cut.
Nope, they're still there. Well, they're not going to cut one of the 3 women. Oh, no, it is Daryl.
Oh, no?
Well, I wanted him to hang out. I like Daryl. He was growing on me a little bit here. This episode, I feel like he was really cool. It's like they all like
it makes me wonder if all of that stuff with like the competition and all that stuff was from other weeks or like previous episodes, and they just decided to put that in here to kind of show the spotlight on him, you know, give him a little bit of a ride off into the sunset.
Yeah. Oh, that sucks. They have made it so sad. It's definitely bittersweet to see him go. He was a big part of the show, if nothing else.
Yeah. I'm waiting for them to cut to Harvard Chris, you know, excited and celebrating and like, yes.
He doesn't look sad. He's like, hey, he's your typical business. It is what it is. Let's move right along.
Yeah. You said it.
He did say it. I'd love to know what Daryl's doing right now.
Yeah.
I'd love to. It's like you didn't even hear of him after this. It says a walk on the wild is the next one.
A walk on the wild side.
Oh, there you go. My vision is not the greatest. Many skills. Vision is not one of them. So in the episode of the show there we finally get next week's show, teeny tiny 20 minutes. Because I think each show is 20 minutes in length. But then with the exclusive footage that they have, some of them are longer than some of the other.
Not going to get any bonus content on the next episode.
But yes, very. I thought it was a good episode. It was cool because you finally got. I feel like that you got an opportunity to really kind of see some of the contestants and get to know some of them and some of their pieces. But Daryl, the first contestant gone. I give him. He lasted a few weeks. Maybe it was due to the idea they didn't cut anybody, but.
Well, yeah. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, had the other three not cut themselves, who would have the first one to go? And I feel like it probably would have been him anyway. So, to be honest, but
yeah, and I mean the guy didn't, even though this episode did endear me to him quite a bit, I feel like he was gone right when he started horsing around after Triple H comes and gives the big speech, and I think it was great. Really recover from that. It was clear the guy wasn't taking it as serious and was just having a time of his life. The guy's in his early 20s here and just fresh out of doing college football and everything like that. So it is what it is. We've all been there. So interesting show though, and a very good episode. The good thing I enjoy seeing is that it seems like there's only 2 commercial breaks for next week's episode.
Oh, okay.
So that's at least that's what it looks like. I don't know how it'll be next week, but enjoy your vacation. I hope you have a very good time. Are you going over to Nashville, Tennessee?
I don't think we're going to Nashville or Knoxville or anything like that. We're going up to the Smoky Mountains, so
great. Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
First time going?
Yeah.
That's very cool. Well, enjoy.
So we're hoping to have a lot of fun up there.
Absolutely. Well, enjoy the rest of your birthday and have a very, very fun trip. And excited to hear all about it next week when we watch Tough Enough, season 1. I guess this would be episode 6 next week. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes, it is. Walk on the Wild Side. Maven transformed. Jackie breaks down, and a cut is made.
Oh wow! So I don't have any of that stuff. I don't know where you're seeing
the episode guide.
Oh, the episode guide. Gotcha. Yeah, that'll be fun, and I've been enjoying our watch along of Tough Enough season 1 thus far. Hopefully you guys are as well. If you are, let me know in the comment section below, and we will catch up with you guys again real soon here on Watch Along Wrestling for season 1 of Tough Enough, episode 6. Until next time, everybody, make sure you leave a big thumbs up and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode.